There are places in Alaska where the map just stops. Places where the geography remembers things that human history tries to forget. They call Port Chatham a ghost town now. In the 1950s, the entire population fled overnight. They left their dishes on the table and their clothes in the closets. They said a hairy man was hunting them. I didn't believe it. I was a surveyor, hired to assess the old cannery ruins. I thought I was alone. The boat pilot refused to kill the engine while I unloaded my gear. He didn't look at me. He kept his eyes locked on the tree line. When I threw my bag onto the frozen dock, he just muttered, "Don't be here when the sun goes down," and throttled away before I could even wave. Silence in Alaska is heavy. It presses against your eardrums. As I walked up the boardwalk toward the cannery, the silence felt watchful. The snow was pristine, unbroken, except for the smell. A faint copper scent, like old pennies or dried blood. I set up my base camp in the foreman's cabin. It was the only structure with a roof that hadn't collapsed. Inside, it was frozen in time. A calendar on the wall from 1949. A child's doll sitting on a dusty chair, facing the window, watching the woods. I tried to radio back to base to confirm my arrival. Static, just white noise. But then, for a split second, I heard a click. Not static, a click, like someone on the other end pressing the talk button and releasing it. Breathing. I told myself it was interference, atmospheric bounce. I laid out my sleeping bag, but the feeling of being watched wasn't coming from the window anymore. It was coming from the floorboards beneath me. Day 2. I needed to survey the perimeter. The woods around Port Chatham are dense, Devil's Club and spruce trees so thick they block out the sky. I found footprints near the old mine shaft. They looked human at first. I measured them, 18 inches long, but the stride was 6 feet. Whatever made this wasn't walking, it was prowling, and it was heavy. The print was compressed deep into the permafrost. I followed the track for a mile. It led to a clearing where the trees had been snapped, not cut, snapped. Huge spruce trees twisted like matchsticks, about 10 feet up the trunk. This wasn't a bear. Bears don't twist trees for fun. That's when I found the recorder. An old rusted cassette player half buried in the snow near the tree line. It looked like it had been there for decades. But the batteries inside were brand new. I shouldn't have played it. Curiosity is a curse. I pressed play. It was a voice, my voice, saying words I hadn't spoken yet. It said, "It's behind you."
It's behind you.
But the tone, it was flat, mechanical. I spun around. Nothing, just the white void of the forest. But the smell was back, that copper, blood smell, and now it was mixed with something else. Wet dog and rot. I ran back to the cabin. I boarded up the window. I piled furniture against the door. Night fell like a hammer, pitch black, no moon. I sat there with my flare gun, staring at the door. It started with tapping, gentle tapping on the glass of the window I'd boarded up. Tap, tap, tap. Then a voice. "Help me." It was a woman's voice. Soft,
Please.
crying. "Please,
I'm
cold. Let me in." My grandmother told me about the Kushtaka, the otter men, the shapeshifters. They mimic babies and women to lure you out. I yelled, "Go away!" The crying stopped instantly. Then it laughed, a low, guttural, grinding laugh that vibrated the floorboards. Then the mimicry changed. It started sounding like me again. It shouted, "Open the door," in my exact cadence. It was screaming my own thoughts back to me from the other side of the wall. I fired the flare gun through the gap in the window. A streak of red phosphorus burned into the night. It illuminated it. It wasn't an animal. It was a pale, hairless thing standing on two legs, but its joints were backward. It screamed at the light. I grabbed my bag and ran out the back door. I didn't care about the cold. I had to get to the boat dock. The run to the dock was a nightmare. The woods were alive. I could hear it crashing through the trees parallel to me. It wasn't just chasing, it was herding me, toying with me. I saw the water, the dock, salvation. I scrambled onto the wood, slipping on the ice. I fumbled for the emergency radio beacon on the pylon. Mayday! Mayday! Is anyone there? The radio crackled. A voice came through.
I'm coming back for you,
It was
son.
the boat
Hold tight.
pilot. I'm coming back for you, son. Hold tight. Relief washed over me. I collapsed. Thank God, I said. Where are you? The voice on the radio glitched. Turn, around, around, around. The boat pilot's voice dissolved into that same grinding, guttural howl. It wasn't the pilot. It never was. The radio cord. It was cut, dangling in the wind. I felt the hot breath on my neck before I felt the claws. Port Chatham doesn't have ghosts. It has mimics, and they don't want you to leave. They want your voice. This recording was found 3 weeks later in a watertight bag floating near the Homer Spit. There was no body, just this tape, and if you listen closely to the end, you can hear me, or something that sounds like me, singing a lullaby.